I wasn't able to capture in real time the audio track or whatever the hell they use to inform people at the metro station changes by the audio, like over the speakers. But apparently, at one point I was thinking, sure, this is a security precaution. We don't want strangers, terrorists, or goddamn Democrat lawyers who suck the cock of Michelle Obama to know where they are. But I think that basically it's just a lot of garbage in, garbage out idiots cutting corners because we don't really think. Do they really think that I could hear that shit? It's like somebody wants to make a parody of Tokyo Rose or some shit to make sure that nobody can, even if I understood Chinese or whatever. I can't talk right now because my medical providers fucked up my motor networks and they know they did that. That meant I needed reasonable accommodation for aphasia. I can't remember stuff. And where would I go around here to get some eyeglasses without a fucking prescriber? Because I need refraction. And if I get some sunglasses, where'd you even buy sunglasses if you can't get from a prescriber, a Walgreens? So these things are cheap, crappy things. You imagine how much money did you spend on those designer frames? Because you can't get real ones unless you find somebody to do that for you. I'm stipulating I cannot fucking see, but if I have to rely on the goddamn noise, these guys are going out of their minds trying to figure out what's going on here. In the event that the app works today, or they're not jamming a signal, or some piece of shit asshole decides to subject this place to an act of God. An act of God is an insurance term. It means that they're not going to pay up on your claim that's actually fulfilling all their bullshit lawyer requirements. This is me trying to be quiet on this floor. Everybody else goes. Even when they're not trying to get snow off them, their feet, their boots, whatever. One time I saw a retard around here wearing fireman galoshes. I bet anything that's that retard that rides on the fire engines, and it's in every suburb, because they've got to have police officers and firefighters have, meet and greet, some PR event, because otherwise you would think that they were the kind of malfeasant pieces of shit who, harass people, break down your door and take your mother away, steal your property, do this goddamn Democrat lawyer stuff in the corrupt probate courts, and also try malpracticing a doctor. It used to be that the doctors were afraid of the legal people. Now they're all on the same side. You can't really malpractice your own people, just as I can't expect the police to arrest themselves even if I do all the work for them. I've got no legs to stand in courts, is the way lawyers talk. Does that make any sense to you? You don't have any legs in court. You got low-hanging fruit. What the fuck? They should be taking their own side drugs. Let's make sure that no lawyers, or actually there's nobody who would really be good in Congress or legislators or elected officials unless they've ever solved a problem, such as a business person, somebody who has a technician, engineer, maybe engineer, but not physicians, lawyers. Social workers aren't the weakest link, they're the most evil ones. They want to connect you to some kind of goddamn nigger shit that they wouldn't even do themselves. That's why probably tonight I'm going to attempt to do the same thing, because there's no point in trying to reinvent the wheel or end up in some filthy, sickening nigger place with tobacco smoke, cannabis smoke, corn chips on the floor, no medical care, and is paid for by Medicaid or Medicare or real insurance. Why is people whining about stuff like, 2.3% pay increase, right? Because they're all gay, they wear uniforms, they fuck each other, they only talk to each other, they circle wagons. They're like in a union. They're union laborers. And if they want to go on strike, they will fuck you up. That's why since they've turned everything into New York or London or Tokyo or Beijing, Chicago, Baltimore, Tokyo, Miami, they want to turn everything into these filthy urbanized places, and they've succeeded in some ways. I wasn't going to run because usually they repeat it twice. Oh well, I guess I don't know the current bullshit going on in Metra, especially since I've decided I'm not going to bother attempting to go that piece of shit ticket thing in the Skokie courthouse because those faggot goddamn Metro police did that shit to me, and knowingly, willingly. And they'll have to, as I understand, if I don't show up in court, they might bill me for this ticket. I was inside a fucking metro station. They claim I was sleeping. I was talking to them. They know I was talking to them. They also did it wrong. There was no car involved. I'm not a lawyer. I can't talk. How am I supposed to get a fucking lawyer? They also supposed to give me a blue part of it. There's no blue part of it. I'm supposed to go to Skokie now. I can't get there now. If I had a car or money or lawyers, I wouldn't be in this train station now. I wouldn't have been in that fucking train station now. And that reminds me, yeah, I was going to go to that train station. Maybe it's a fortuitous thing that everybody, can't they ever do stuff at the Metro? I mean, a long time ago, sure, once in a while. But this goes back to when I used to, quote, commute, quote, downtown. I know that they didn't close those quotes. This is how people talk nowadays, even professional communicators. And I never started before they did this shit to me inside the medical facility, emergency, to a hammer, everything looks like a nail. To a lawyer, an emergency responder, or a social worker, everything looks like a psych patient in need of being locked up and tortured in some filthy, sickening Department of War funded place. Because at least I use the terminology that the executive branch of the United States uses. I bet if you were to survey a typical educated lawyer in some upscale North Shore suburb, hey, what do you think that they should have changed the name of the Department of Defense to Department of War? And this person, what? I don't recognize Trump. He doesn't. His bullshit down there in Washington, D.C. has nothing to do with my little enclave of Democrats here who suck the cock of Michelle Obama figuratively. But if I were to say that me, the person saying this, they would like say I'm assaulting someone, but they won't arrest me. They'll put in a fucking psych ward, and then they wonder how these persons are persuaded to be on the other side because they've got nothing, or literally fucked up so much they divulge information. I've got no idea how much stuff I've been forced to tell, while fucked up, drugged, tortured, abused, and these human rights violations that everybody wants done. Because and obviously, if they wanted to, they said that the reason why they do this shit is that yelling is like a crime, it's an assault. Well, if it is, they won't arrest me. Because everybody loses money and time on an arrest that won't even get to the judge, or if it is, it will be dismissed. There's all kinds of ways. They will never convict somebody like me. They might force me to take non-consensual drugs again. But when you get somebody fucked up in the system, that's a really easy emergency way to do it. But there are other ways. I'm not even going to go near this gender-affirming care crap. All you need are thinking about stuff all these decades ago. One of the things that I'm sure hastened my father's death is he would refuse to stop taking the statin drug that his provider, who ironically retired to DeSantis' state, Florida, prescribed for him. He trusted his doctor's judgment about that rather than me, a somewhat educated layperson fucked up by medical harm. But he trusted me. My mother trusted. What the fuck is that for? The fuck is that for? There's no reason to flash your goddamn light sideways when you're doing a fucking snowplow. By the way, they do plow the streets, but I've noticed that the corrupt people who pay off people to do this stuff, yeah, what I was alluding to earlier, maybe a typical, what do you call this, not an example. I'm going to be staying in this fucking goddamn station house of the Metra in Glencoe until I am able to go to one or more places to do a simple task, which I wouldn't have to do if I lived somewhere, because they literally did make me homeless, and everything they do is to give me homeless, filthy nigger shit full of tobacco and disease and shit. Can you hear that wheezing? You've got no idea how, actually, that's fine. Because my mom was psychotic and, a little bit overly enthusiastic about cleaning stuff at one point. I've got allergies and stuff, but, that was totally ignored during this recent, a few hours at the ER, not of Holland Park, thank God, but at Lake Forest. Unfortunately, or fortunately, they didn't, whatever. And do you think that I can't see what just happened, but do you think that they've ever been able to, in their infinite wisdom, lay down cement or concrete or whatever you call it on a road or street that's a public place, and do so such that it will deliberately go bad within a year or two, so somebody's retarded nephew can wave a flag and get a job in a union, etc.? Which leads me to the real thing. I'm not sure you're familiar with this influencer. He took me by surprise. I didn't know where he was coming from. His name was Mike Rowe. Mike Rowe points out that, with this leftist university shit, nobody now really can do electrical work. There's no electricians who can do anything half a damn. Can't do plumbing, toilets, HVAC. And, the way that I look at stuff around here, some of it is such, I'm not going to, yeah, well, I'll tell you that certain things are more in my bailiwick of knowledge than other ones are. Sometimes I look at the cobblestone and say, this person did really good work. Then I look at something that's easy to do, and this guy's like, oh, I can see this guy, recommend, guaranteeing his work or doing an excuse. Well, this hole was supposed to be a foot over here, so, we'll cut a corner, we'll bribe somebody, because really, the show must go on, the road must go on. Yeah, well, I could probably even be doing this shit in my crippled condition if I didn't schlep this goddamn nigger shit on my back because, there's no one for me to put my stuff or do laundry. But, hey, you're an asshole. You could kill somebody with a snowplow. How come they don't make it illegal to have snowplows in a Democrat state? A snowplow. That's why the Muslims use kitchen knives in Europe, because they made guns illegal. Is that something? I don't know what that noise is, but it's reminiscent of when they used to have illegal fireworks. Where does your child go to school? What's your social security number? What do you have sex with? What drugs do you take? Where do you live? We can't give you medical care unless you tell us your info. But if you ask me my name, I'll be offended and put in a fucking psych ward. I'll recommend that the doctors give you drugs that kill Jews, because that's where you live. The United States of America, or, after 9/11, we may not have lost just the battle, but the war, because your people turned this place into a gulag, Nazi Germany, whatever. The West Coast of the United States, when you people rounded up your Japanese here. And why is that?